last one, just because I see it behind you. A sharp-eyed viewer has seen your whiskey bottles behind you and had at least commented to me on how well sort of rare bottles of whiskey have performed over the past couple of years. Is that a new area of investment for you?
It's a great question. Late in life, I was never a big drinker. In fact, I never drank a drop of alcohol in high school. And I've never smoked a cigarette or done a drug in my life that wasn't prescribed to me by a doctor, to this day. But I think, as I got into life, and got to be spending time on weekends with friends at the ranch, I started having some whiskey. And in 2009, Jim Murray, who's kind of writes the whiskey Bible every year in the UK, granted the kind of global primacy position to a Japanese whiskey, to the Yamazaki sherry cask. And I happened to be in London in 2009, and I called my assistant and I said, "Get me one of these. I've never tried it." And we couldn't find one. It had all disappeared from the market because, as you know, 20 years before that, the Japanese never anticipated the world catching on to loving Japanese whiskey. And
Right.
so that became somewhat of a fun side project for me. The bottles that are behind me will never be drunk. They're just pieces of art. Many of them are 50 and 60 years old. And I ended up buying a couple of collections from Japanese collectors that were basically like estate selling them, i.e. they were close to passing away and they wanted to sell whole collections. So what you see behind me, I collect first edition books from both economic history and world history, and then I collect Japanese whiskey. And so a little bit of my collection happens to reside behind me. And if things get too bad, I can turn around and just start drinking at some point.